Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring the latest that we got on what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Wednesday. We'll speak on a risk of strong to severe storms across the high plains, some energy out there across the Rockies. We'll talk about some rain showers across the New England area today as an upper low continues to be embedded in this trough and spin moisture around it across the Northeast. And then we'll talk about the incredible air mass brought to you by this trough and this cold front that sagged pretty far south for the second half of August standards. In fact, here in my neck of the woods, here in central South Carolina, which is where I live, temperatures have dropped all the way down to the mid to low 60s this morning. I drove up to the gym this morning, walked outside, and I was like, there it is. I think we're starting to slowly break the back of summer. If you guys know me, have been tuning in for a while or haven't been tuning in for a while, I'm a big fall weather fan, big colder weather fan. I enjoy the cooler season over the warmer season. I enjoy talking about snow and winter weather more than any other weather. But I love fall. It's my favorite season. So, of course, stepping outside this morning was just a delight. It was awesome. And the thing is, this air mass has longevity to it. It's going to stick around for the next several days, all the way into this weekend. So we will speak on how chilly it is or how cool it is for certain areas of the country this morning. We'll break it all down for you folks. But I will say, there's no significant weather events to break down across the lower 48 right now. There's nothing significant out there in the tropics to break down. But speaking of the tropics, we will give you updated information of all the overnight and early morning model guides that we have. Are we seeing anything? I mentioned in yesterday morning's video, was yesterday kind of the start, day one, that we were going to see an uptick in model guidance with activity out there in the tropics? Well, it really wasn't. It dropped off yesterday morning, and it really hasn't shown anything too crazy out there since. But we will show you what we're seeing. We'll speak on the Climate Prediction Center and talk about what they're thinking is going to happen over the next couple weeks. And yeah, we'll break it all down for you folks. So there'll be a time stamp up for that portion of the video for the second half of the video. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. Let's get going this morning. So we do have some rain that's wrapping back into the northern sections of New England from this upper low spinning around this trough. So it's going to be kind of a day like it was yesterday, just on and off showers. I know you guys had that awful flooding in portions of Connecticut. These rain showers could make it to that area. I don't think it's going to be anything of concern that's really going to amp up the flooding or anything like that. But just some showers are going to pivot through. Rainy, kind of coolish day for you folks. A little bit of energy in the Midwest, surging through Iowa, Illinois, Missouri. We got some tropical downpours down here from Tampa to Fort Myers. Models picked up on that very well yesterday for this morning, and certainly it's happening. We do got some energy riding through the Rockies. In fact, you see that blue right there? There might be a little bit of snow falling in the higher elevations. I'm not talking about down like near Denver or anything like that, but the higher elevations of the Rockies could be a little snow falling up there in some of those higher mountaintops. We do have some showers, even some storms up here in eastern Montana, getting into the Dakotas, and a little bit of energy in the northern Rockies. So that's what's going on right now. Watches, warnings, advisories, red flag warnings up in Wyoming. We need some rain. Hopefully we can get some today and just some widespread rain pretty soon. But excessive heat warnings once again, this purple color in Texas. Heat advisories in the orange, so another hot day. But there is a cold front kind of sagged across this area right here where, areas like Arkansas, Louisiana, even Oklahoma, like eastern Oklahoma, seeing more relief today compared to the last couple of days as the cold front has kind of oozed its way in just temporarily and bringing a little bit more of a comfortable air mass. I wouldn't really say comfortable, but it's not as brutally hot out there, I would say. So excessive rainfall outlook. There is that marginal risk up here in areas of New England, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. There's a marginal risk across the Four Corners region. There is a slight risk from southern Utah through a good portion of Arizona all the way to the Mexico-Arizona line here. So that means there's a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in any given location. So watch out for that. And then the Storm Prediction Center outlook, there is a slight risk up here in the high plains, eastern Montana, western North Dakota. Level 2 out of 5, marginal risk extends all the way across the high plains into the central high plains, and just a general risk of thunderstorms in the light green. There is a marginal risk like down here in like Tucson, Arizona, like southern and southeast eastern sections of Arizona, so be aware of that. But what is this driven off of? Well, the tornado risk is less than 2%, so no outlook actually showing up here, no colors, no green. The wind threat, though, in the slight risk area, not only is there a 15% risk in the yellow, winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour, there's also a 10% chance is a hatched risk, which you can see it's symbolized by these black dashes going in between the yellow here. Tells us there's a hatch risk, which means there's a chance of significant winds, which means there's a 10% risk of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher. So be aware of these storms up here in Montana and North Dakota today. They can produce hurricane force wind gusts or higher. So the hail threat, just a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So I would say across the lower 48, this will be where your most active and significant weather will potentially be for today. So let's go on and drop it down to the southeast, and I'm going to update this really fast. So let's start off by talking about temperatures and some of these areas. I don't have everybody covered on here, but as you can tell, there's, as far south as like northern Alabama, northern Georgia, temperatures in the upper 50s. Nashville waking up temperatures in the 50s. The Cumberland Plateau, there's some 40s out there. Knoxville in the 50s. You get up into Kentucky, you got scattered 50s and 40s this morning. It's downright cold up in West Virginia. Maybe some sub-freezing readings in some of those higher mountainous regions in West Virginia, 3,000-4,000 feet up. Mountains of Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, temperatures in the 40s and 50s. And even getting east of the Alps here, like the Piedmont of North Carolina, upstate of South Carolina, temperatures in the upper 50s to low 60s. So last time I checked on my phone, I think we were down to like 65, maybe around 64 degrees here in my neck of the woods, which is amazing for this time of the year. It really is. So we will look a little bit on up the road. I know you folks may be up in the mid-Atlantic wondering, well, what about us? I got you covered. Just give me 1 second. But as far as what's going to happen weather-wise across the southeast today, nothing really. You're being dominated by a lot of dry air. This trough is in place. Of course, this cold front, unfortunately, for my folks here in Florida that are fall weather fans, I feel bad for you if you live in Florida and you're a fall weather fan. That's got to be torture, at least in my opinion. I would never live in Florida, ever, and that's not a knock on anybody that lives there, but I can never live somewhere that just has absolutely no seasons really at all. I know the Panhandle of Florida gets more so seasons, but we struggle enough as it is here in Central South Carolina to get even a winter these days. So seems like, but anyways, this afternoon, you're going to get that westerly flow across the peninsula of Florida. So you're going to get some thunderstorms that kind of develop across really anywhere from Jacksonville Point south. Gainesville Point south can get thunderstorms today, just very scattered about. And we could get a little bit of thunderstorm activity in southern sections of Georgia too, where there's just enough moisture to kind of get some rain showers and storms going. But outside of that, guys, really Florida and South Georgia is really the only areas that I think has an okay shot to see rain today. So nothing else really going on, nothing to really speak on. Now we do talk about our folks up here in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast as far as temperatures. Here they are. Look at the Del Mar, the Tidewater area. 50s, New Jersey, 50s, PA, 40s and 50s, Maryland, 50s. Downright chilly in West Virginia. New York City, it's very pleasant. Long Island. Very nice conditions. And then we head on up to the rest of the Northeast and New England here. It's actually cooler like in southern New England than it is like up here in Maine, just because the air mass hasn't fully penetrated this area yet. So the down east areas of Maine is still in the 50s. Still in the 60s in certain areas, but you're cooler to your south. So just a nice kind of early-ish, fallish type feel out here across the Northeast. So as far as weather today, you still got this pesky upper low up here. And, we get into about midday. We're going to get some showers into the Tuck Hill Plateau, the Adirondacks, especially Vermont, more so over New Hampshire. Showers kind of pivoting through areas of Maine, too. Some of these could, produce some small hail, very possible with cold air aloft associated with this upper low. So some of these storms that you see kind of right in here, like they're showing up in yellow, orange, and red, could have a little bit of hail in them, more intense showers or storms. But this continues just to pivot around Maybe a little bit more so heavier rain up here in western and southwestern sections of Maine. And yeah, we get into the overnight hours, things kind of chill out a little bit, and then you'll have an opportunity to do it once again tomorrow. So just some showers up here in the interior northeast, not a big deal at all. The south central U.S., not a big weather day down here either. It seems like over the last month or so, the only way you can get widespread rains down here is from a tropical system, which was Beryl, which seems like a year ago at this point, but it really wasn't. It was, I don't know, when was it, like 6-7 weeks ago? But anyways, you continue into this afternoon. You can see the widespread showers, even some rumbles of thunder, maybe some higher elevation snow. Way up there in the Rockies is very, very possible. I mean, way higher up, but definitely widespread showers and storms for the most part across. Really, anybody in Montana has a chance. I'm sorry, Colorado has a chance for it. Could get some pop-up downpours down here, like around San Antonio, south of Austin, Texas. You can get some downpours down here, very possible. But all in all, I mean, I wouldn't expect it, that's for sure. And then we get into the overnight hours. Some of that energy will head out of Colorado into western Kansas in the form of some showers, maybe some storms. And then we'll have to see what it looks like as we're waking up tomorrow morning across Kansas. So the north central U.S., quiet start. Still being dominated by high pressure. We get into this afternoon, not a whole lot going on. We get into this evening, we see these storms out here in the western half of the Dakotas and western Nebraska. We'll speak on that here in a second. That energy will try to make its way all the way into like Minnesota by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning in the form of some rain showers. But the immediate north central U.S. is pretty quiet. In fact, you kind of go and look at the temperatures this morning across the Midwest. I don't want to leave you guys hanging here. These are actual air temperatures across like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. I mean, look at this. 40s, maybe some low 50s, but man, it's got a nip in the air. You'll want to put a light jacket on some of these kids out here waiting at the bus stop or maybe heading off to work. This is an incredible air mass. It really is. You can tell that we're getting a little bit closer to those to the seasonal change here. And then, you look a little bit closer up to the UP of Michigan. Definitely some chilly conditions out there. Nothing too crazy you guys can't handle or anything like that. But definitely chilly for mid to late August standards, that's for sure. So enjoy that. We continue to move forward here. Where were we? Let's look at the Dakotas as far as those storms. So a little bit closer look at the high plains here in Montana and surrounding states. We get into this afternoon. It's around 3 to 4 p.m. Look at those storms forming in southeastern Wyoming. Look at these big storms in eastern Man, I need to get my directional right this morning. Western sections of the Dakotas, especially western sections of South Dakota, western Nebraska. A lot of storm activity in northern Colorado. And to keep this going, and these are the storms you want to watch out for up here that have a little bit more wind energy to work with. These storms look just kind of scattered and everywhere. You got some storms up here in Canada. You got this cluster right here in east central Montana, western North Dakota. We got some clustering of storms here in central and west central South Dakota. And then they do cluster up around, I would say around 9 to 10 p.m. tonight. And if you live up here in Montana, definitely say hey, or up here in northwestern North Dakota. These storms can have a big time wind threat with them. They'll kind of blast through late this evening into late tonight, and they could cause a lot of ruckus across the northern counties of North Dakota as we're getting into overnight tonight. This is around midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., so definitely a stormy night possible. But this energy will originate out of Montana. So if you look at the potential wind gust swath from the HRRR model, the HRRR model, and here it is. I mean, and this is just showing where this particular model run likes these storms forming. But it does show the big wind threat with this, especially up here in the slight risk area where you do have the risk of significant winds. And some of these areas, in those colored areas right there, I mean, that's 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts that are possible, maybe 80. And then even down here in the Dakotas, I mean, even look at Wyoming down here. So these storms could pack a punch today. So be aware if you get under a severe thunderstorm warning and you live up here in the high plains, Just no winds are going to be a serious threat. Tornadoes, not so much. Could get some hail. And obviously, you cannot rule out a tornado threat, but the winds are certainly going to be the biggest threat. You look at the rest of the Rockies and the western U.S., not a whole lot for the immediate west. The Rockies, though, there's a lot of moisture bubbling up. See these storms down here in Arizona, especially southern Arizona. These could pack more of a punch with a little bit of moisture to boot for you guys to really fuel some of these storms. But some big storms are possible in northern sections of Arizona, too. Just Storm Prediction Center doesn't really like a real big severe element to this, but definitely a stormy day across northern Arizona. And then some of this moisture could ooze into southeastern Utah and southern Utah. We've already mentioned Colorado. Definitely could get some rain in northwestern New Mexico. And then loss of daytime heating. Things chill out a little bit with a little bit of moisture lingering around. So temperatures, I mean, you might not get out the 40s today. And like the Adirondacks and some of these higher elevations of the Alps of New England. But all in all, the Northeast, New England, it's kind of one of those days where highs, I mean, will struggle to get to 70 degrees, even for like Boston down to New York City. You can see where this air mass is located. I can draw like a line right here. I mean, it's pretty nice, guys. Pretty nice air mass basically on this side of that line. Very, very, very nice air mass for this time of the year for sure. So I mean 60s, 70s across the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. I mean low 70s for certain areas. I mean highs are only going to get into the 70s as far south as like North Carolina or certain areas of North Carolina. I mean you cannot, I mean that's a nice air mass for September standards. So unfortunately for our friends in Texas, you guys continue to bake alive. It just seems like, yeah, just hot weather for Texas. It's hot in Texas. Up into the high plains, it's hot. The further east you work across the plains, the cooler it gets as far as high temperatures. And across the west, not too bad. Not too crazy one way or the other away from your average temperatures for this time of the year. So as far as the tropics, so it's pretty wild. It's August 21st. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. So there's nothing even on the map. You know, we've all heard about this very hyperactive season that's predicted. And even I'm shocked. If you would have told me a month ago that, hey, Mitch, on August 21st, the morning of August 21st, you know, we would be looking at a graphic that says this, I would probably have said, yeah, I doubt that. I mean, I wouldn't have said, no, there's no way. I would have said, you know, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But here we are. Here we are. There's nothing to really track out there. There is some things we can discuss, but there's nothing to track. So the next thing we'll go to is, this is the Global Tropics Hazards Outlooks, the Climate Prediction Center, which kind of puts out these outlooks as far as temperatures, precipitation. They also do the tropics. So they double down on what they were thinking a week ago when they issued this, which is pretty much the same graphic. They still think from about a week from today, August 28th through September 3rd, you see this dark burgundy red color? I mean, it is burgundy right here. That is they think that there's a 60% chance or higher of tropical cyclone formation to happen, which, you know, it says down here, tropical cyclone formation probability. Over 60% chance in this burgundy area right here. And what that means is, as far as tropical cyclone formation, that's a tropical depression or greater strength. So, you know, they are confident. And they're basically saying there's over a 50% chance, higher actually, that we are going to be tracking something a week from today in this area right here. And then if you're wondering what, you know, the red area is right here, you know, there it is, 40% chance. And then kind of the candy cane colors here, the white and the red, that's a 20% chance. And they still think September the 4th through the 10th, there's a good 40% chance or higher that we're going to be tracking something. So they seem to think, and I don't want you to think by the way I'm talking that I disagree with them, but they are pretty confident that we're going to be tracking something here in about a week. Okay, next named storm is Francine here in the Atlantic. Now, you compare this to what we're seeing with the model guidance. the European. And what we're going to look at here is 500 millibar forward. So this is energy in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. It's a great way to try to find weak tropical waves out there in the Atlantic. So one thing you'll notice as we move forward, we're getting into this weekend. This is Saturday afternoon. You see this little area right here? That is a little energy getting dumped off from this trough into the Gulf of Mexico. This could spin something up real fast. You can see there's a little spin to it, and it runs right into Texas. But what about after that's done? What are we looking at here? There's a little bit of an open wave right here. But it surges north, it gets probably messed up with dry air, and looks like it dissipates. And we go 10 days out, guys. I don't see anything. Nothing. This is getting into the evening of the 30th of August. I would say the most interesting feature out of all this is this thing right here, this huge bowling ball of a trough digging down into the Great Lakes region. Honestly, think that'll be a storyline here in the next several days. If it continues to show up, this could also bring a big cool down for certain areas. That keeps on showing up. Now, this is the latest GFS. Okay, we'll start off Friday evening. Same thing. There's that little spin right there. Sometimes these cold fronts that hang out for a long time can dump some energy. Some showers and storms will get going south of these boundaries, and they can get into the Gulf of Mexico. This happens a lot more so in late September, October, when we get frequent cold fronts pretty far south because of the changing of the seasons. But this is happening, has an opportunity to happen a little bit earlier than that because we have an abnormally sharp digging south cold front. So we got to watch this energy in the Gulf of Mexico, watch how it spins, hits Texas. If you're wondering, what is that? Is that a hurricane or tropical storm? No, that's like a little open wave of just some tropical downpours at most. Okay. Now we continue to look back out here in the main development region, the tropical Atlantic. And, we get 1 week from today. Remember, Climate Prediction Center thinks we're trying to be tracking something at this point. Or I would say not at this point, but in the range of the 28th through the 3rd or 2nd of September. So, I'll give them a little bit of leeway there. But we continue, and, I see a little energy down here. Not a whole lot, though. There's maybe that big trough digging down right here. But we start to get past day 10, guys. I mean, we're past day 10. We're getting in like day 11, day 13. And this is as far as we can go. This takes us all the way to the morning of September 2nd. There's nothing out there. Nothing. It's pretty wild, to be honest with you, because for the most part, the background is pretty favorable. Yeah, there's dry air out there, sure. I mean, but there's always dry air out there. How dry is the air? How widespread is it? That's the big question here. We're going to look at this, and then we're going to, we'll go 10 days out on the GEFS ensemble. This makes up 21 members. I will say the ensemble guidance is a little bit more active, but it's really spread out and weird to me. You got one lone member right here that's, tropical storm status. It's just very odd to me. It looks a weird look. It looks like to me that they're having a hard time latching on to energy. Now, if you take this to about 15 days out, you got crazy scattered members everywhere. But to me, this is, I know you're seeing a lot more action going on here, but this is not impressive because nothing's really, these members don't really get going until like day 10 and after. And then you look at the European ensemble. It's not impressive at all, guys. Which is good. It's good news. I'd rather be tracking cold fronts, to be honest with you. And let me light my fall candles and all that stuff when it's a nice crisp 52 degrees outside. But this is the European ensemble through 10 days. This makes up 51 members. And you just got some stragglers out here. The strongest member you got out of all this is a 992 millibar tropical storm. So not an impressive signal. And I mentioned this a couple times, and I failed to mention it in the video yesterday morning. One of the big reasons is these tropical waves are coming off the west coast of Africa too far north. Once you start to get like up into this region, there's a lot of dry air. There's cooler sea surface temperatures, and typically when waves kind of come over in this region, they don't last. 9 times out of 10, they don't make it. And here's a great example. Look at this big wave right here. Has that tall, deep convection, and then it just wanes. It just disappears right when it gets over the water. And I'm not saying that's the exact reason why. It could be more dry air, whatever it may be. But you notice the action down here is staying more active, but I mean, there's no consolidation of this energy. So, you know, that's a big issue. And I'll be completely honest with you. There's a lot of chatter out there in the weather community. It doesn't seem like even some of the most well-known and most intelligent people know exactly what's going on right now. It just goes to tell you. It goes to show you that we got a long way to go. We do. You know, you can sit there and say La Nina, high sea surface temperatures, this, that, and the other until the cows come on to you, blue in the face. But we still got a lot to figure out. This is why I do not do seasonal forecast. Had a comment, and folks, please don't think I'm just trying to always single out the negative comments. That's not my intentions here. But I had a comment in one of the videos yesterday morning that said, what's up with all these, even though I explained it so detailed in the video, he says, you know, what's up with all these, with the lack of hurricane season, you know, it was so hyped up in the beginning, this, that, and the other. I read and watched all this stuff that was so hyped up, and the only thing I commented was, well, on this channel, we didn't make a hurricane outlook, a seasonal outlook. The only thing I showed you on this channel was, hey, this is what the Climate Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center are thinking. It does back up the background, and I do support it. I think it's going to be an active hurricane season, but do I ever give you my take on how many named storms are going to be? No. Do I give you a seasonal forecast on the winter? No, I don't. Do I try to tell you that, you know, there's a higher than not chance you're going to get snow in North or South Carolina or Georgia this winter? I'm not. I just don't. You know, I just kind of keep things 7 to maybe as much as 14 days out ahead of us, and that's it. So, you know, my advice to you folks that watch these seasonal forecasts, because it's funny, I still get comments saying, Mitch, when are you going to drop your winter weather outlook? And occasionally people like Mary will say, you know, will back me up and say, hey, you know, Mitch doesn't do these, and I have to kind of double down on, like, I don't do them because, in my opinion, I don't think we know enough to predict a season out. And I think that a lot of these winter weather forecasts that some folks watch, they're only doing it because they know it's going to get a lot of views. People love watching that stuff. They truly do. They love watching that stuff. If you go and look at somebody's YouTube channel that does weather like me, and it's somebody that does winter weather forecasts, if you go through their videos and compare that video about a winter weather forecast just against all their other kind of videos, you'll notice that video talking about winter weather forecasts, winter season forecasts, has significantly more views than all their other videos. Check it out. If you don't believe me, check it out, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And they know what catches the audience's attention, and you know, that's how people that do what I do with the weather on YouTube can get a little bit astray. They can just kind of lose what truly this is all about, and that's keeping people safe, keeping people aware of the weather, and educating people with the weather. So, you know, there was times in the beginning stages of YouTube where I really, really was just so gung-ho about getting the highest views ever, and I still want my videos to get some high views. You know, I would be lying to you guys if I didn't say that, but I think my focus has really shifted towards just the conservative approach now, more so now than ever. So I do appreciate you nice comments that do say, Mitch, you know, you are one of the best channels that keep things non-hyped and everything like that, and I really do. That means a lot. But that's all I got, guys. Pretty much, you know, I will say that I am watching the Central Pacific. There's a tropical system that could get close over the next several days to Hawaii. I will talk a little bit about that here in the coming days, but for now, I'm just going to leave that be until that system actually forms, and then we'll start to break it down. But thank y'all for listening to my temper tantrums there. And I think lately I've just been getting bothered by some of these videos, not to the point where I want to call out any individual channels or anything like that, because I don't want to put a target on my back for people to come after me, even though I really don't think there's anything here with us that, would give us a target. But there's no point in doing that. It just, it kind of comes back on all of us that kind of do these videos right. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful what you watch out there. If they talk about something that doesn't support what you want to happen, don't just shut them down. Just hear them out. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Appreciate y'all. And always remember, God is good.